Dominic, PK0 was the only place in Bangui it was safe for foreigners to stay. Not that it was safe for anybody to stay anywhere in that country. The Civil War had been raging for 3 years at that point. People had a distinct, dull look in their sunken eyes. I didn't miss that part of Africa. But no matter where you were, war never changed. And neither did Dominic. He was still tall, slim, and had the brightest smile of anyone I knew. He was trouble. Every time we met, I ended up in some kind of trouble. I wasn't sure if it was friendship, but it was intense. "You're looking good for your age," he said. "I haven't seen you since... Wait, how long's it been?" 10 years ago, I think. We'd met briefly in Lisbon. My husband had acted like a dick. "That long, huh?" "Damn," he shrugged. "How was your trip?" It started with a funeral, and things went south from there. Thanks for asking. "I'm real sorry to hear about Adwa," Dominic said with a consoling look in his eyes. "I wish I could have made it." "Yeah, her coffin was the shape of an airplane. It was quite a sight." "What shape would you want your coffin to be?" Dominic asked without missing a beat. "I don't care. It won't be my problem anyway." He started to laugh. "Did you see the email I sent you?" "I need more time to think about it." "It'll be one hell of a ride, like that movie." "The one with Clint Eastwood?" I made a wild guess. "And Tommy Lee Jones. I'm talking space cowboys. You know, we're both past our prime, darling." "If you ever mention my age again," I said slowly, "I will skin you alive and leave you to the fire ants." "I think you're forgetting I'm from Texas. I've had fire ants down my pants since I was knee-high." And so that was it. We planned to ride a motorcycle through the DRC to the Rwandan border. "Just like old times," Dominic said, and I couldn't help reminding him that I'd never actually ridden across Africa on a motorcycle before. A bit of history. Bernard, our fixer, arranged the additional documents I'd need. "You are a reporter," he said. I nodded. "Oh, excellent, excellent." He looked over my shoulder. "Have you got what I asked for?" "Yeah, I got it." Dominic was looking at some pictures that Bernard had handed him. "What are these?" Bernard shot him a glance. "That is so you can tell people apart, in case you forget. See? Everybody wears camouflage. Now, those in the red berets are CAR. Green berets are presidential guards. The militia wears blue berets. Miko packs wear green shoulder badges. Clear?" I craned my head to get a closer look, but Dominic shoved the photos into his pocket. "Clear," he said. "You are going to Bokassa Palace, right?" Bernard clearly had his assumptions about reporters. No, I'd already seen my share of macabre buildings. "I've heard there are still crocodiles around there somewhere." Bernard said it like it might change my mind. "Crocodiles?" I asked. "Oh, you know, the crocodiles he fed his political opponents to. People say some of them escaped and now terrorize the local villages." Urban legends. There was always at least one crocodile in the sewers, as though the real Bokassa wasn't terrifying enough. When he was finally taken down, there were fridges full of human remains found in his palace, or so I'd been told by the older reporters who were there at the time. They talked about chests full of gold and diamonds as well, so I always assumed they were exaggerating. restlessness. We spent 2 days preparing for the trip. Dominic rode a Yamaha, and although I wasn't a big fan of off-roading, I knew nothing would serve us better in Africa. We packed our bags, then bought tanks of water and gas, as well as some food. We loaded everything we thought we might need. Then, we spent some time bickering over which route to take. We finally decided to go through the Kisangani and finish in Goma, where Dominic had some business to attend to, and I could find transport to Rwanda, which was the next stop on my list. And off we went. Pay the ferryman. To leave the CAR, we had to cross the river and pay bribes disguised as taxes. "Did you know," said Dominic, once we'd paid the porters to unload our bike and take the bags to the canoe, "that bribes are actually a substitute for democracy?" "What?" I was intrigued. "They did this study somewhere in the 80s or 90s. I think it was Ukraine or something. And they found out that in countries where there's no established democracy, bribes are the only way to make the system work. You can't really influence anything by voting, but you can sure make things happen with money." "I thought it was the other way around," I said. "When there's no democracy, you can abuse your power as an official." "It ain't that simple, sister. The officials are up to their eyeballs in the system too, right?" He looked down at a piece of paper in his hand. "You got $16? We need to pay 5% of the value of our goods to the custom officers." I paid. "So, when an official needs to get something done, they have to pay a bribe to another official." He looked at the paper again. "Do we have any cheese or butter?" "I think so, yes." I remembered buying them. "Good. We need to pay $11 to the husbandry office." Husbandry, right. And then the phytosanitation wants another $11 for a tank of gas. How long was this list? "Fuck," I shrugged, resigned. My thoughts exactly. For the tank of gas, $11. Health cards, $5. Passports, $18. We paid another $11 to the Office of Water and the Environment for the same tanks of gas, then $5 each to have our health cards inspected, then almost another $20 to get our stamps and our passports, and finally, the soldiers wanted their share for protecting us. I let Dominic handle it. And then, the boat, which cost us another $40, but only because Dominic somehow managed to convince the owner not to charge us extra for the tanks of gas. Enter the DRC for $25. The porters turned out to be cheaper on the other side of the river. Sanitation, $15. We watched them unpack our stuff and then went to the sanitation officer to pay for being sanitized. Security guards appeared out of nowhere. "How much for y'all not to look through my bags?" Dominic asked, and then the money exchanged hands. When they left, we looked at each other and started to laugh. "So, does that mean when you have money, you don't need democracy?" I asked. "No, it's not really about the money. It's just a symbol. What matters is that they have something we want, and we have something they want." He shrugged. "It's as old as humankind. It's an exchange, pure and simple. A means to an end. Here yesterday, gone today, back tomorrow." "You're strange, my friend," I said. He made a face. "I know." 900 miles to Kisangani. Riding a motorcycle in Africa is as much fun as it is a nuisance. I found out the hard way. After a half a day, my ass hurt like hell. On the road, The roads were infamously terrible, scenic, muddy, and a nightmare to travel on. Often they were blocked by one or more of the 4 kinds of obstacles you could meet: water, wood, earth, and people. Sounds like tarot suits or some kind of twisted I Ching, I said, when Dominic explained what to expect on the journey ahead. Heh, sure does, he smiled. We could write a horoscope. Water. A terrible fate awaits those who are born in May, because rivers will flow across their paths, I said in a grave voice. And what about people? Asked Dominic. I'm not a fan. I prefer the other suits, I said, shaking my head. At least they can inspire some spiritual change. Patrols. Sometimes there were patrols. Policemen would stop us and write down our names, painstakingly. There would be some bribes, as usual. 20 kilometers down the road was another patrol, and we went through the whole process, all over again. Gabdalite. Lord have mercy, I said, looking at the monstrous concrete arch that graced the entrance to Motel Nazikel. Ain't it a beaut? Said Dominic, overdramatically. I wonder if the rest's as charming as this. We decided to stop and have a look around the ruins of the abandoned pleasure palace built for Mobutu Sese Seko. Neither of us had seen it before, but it felt like we'd just walked into a post-apocalyptic film set. Is that really a swimming pool? I asked Dominic as we passed a huge tiled basin that had bushes growing at the bottom of it. He nodded. Did you know that he hosted the Pope and the President of France here? Let me guess. I tried to remember the dates. Benedict the 16th and Georges Pompidou. Seriously? Pompidou? It was Mitterrand and Jean-Paul II. I shrugged and let him enjoy his moment of triumph. Mobutu's daughter got married here, Dominic continued. The cake was flown in from France. Can you imagine that? Are you serious? I started to laugh, and then it hit me. I don't know why I'm so surprised. When Clem got married, my husband wanted to send food from his restaurant to Maputo. They'd get along, I think. Him and Mobutu Sese Seko? Give me a break, I scoffed. I really didn't want to think about my husband, Clem, and all the other reasons I was there. A perfect day. The next day was absolutely perfect. I liked traveling with Dominic. The sky was blue. The parrots followed us wherever we went. I thought about the feral parrots that had taken over the cities in southern Europe. Plantation. Every few miles we passed long since abandoned plantations, their railroads still visible, rusting in the tall grass. We saw storm clouds gathering ahead of us one evening, so we decided to make use of a decaying warehouse to hide from the rain. They came when we were cooking rice. 9, maybe 10 people from the nearby village. Hello, I said. The oldest, a tall, thin, wrinkled woman, had a look in her eyes I couldn't quite place. Curiosity? Are you here to wake up the plantation? She asked. I didn't know what to say. No, I said after a moment. No, we're just passing by. The look in her eyes changed, as though the life had left them. I sat for a long time, smoking and looking up at the ruined buildings. We really fucked this place up, I thought. But now we were gone. This place deserved a new beginning. Burdens. Even though the ride was bumpy, It was made up for by the lush, vibrant greenery and the smell of the air, which was so different from Europe's. I watched people traveling from one place to another, carrying goods for sale on their backs. Sometimes they had huge slugs attached to their packs. Dominic made a wager with one of the traders that he could walk 100 steps with the packs. It gathered quite a crowd. I got carried away, placed a bet on Dominic, and lost. I wouldn't even dream of lifting one, especially after the river sickness. Lisea. Lisea was the town where Sesiseka was born. It was small, dusty, and a river ran through it. Another obstacle for us to overcome. "See what I mean?" said Dominic when the locals started putting down boards to span the river. "Initiative. They know what they have, and they know just how to use it." "Just as I predicted. A river blocking our path," I laughed. "Do we have to pay to get across?" "Of course we do. You've forgotten where we are or something? Just imagine it's an app on your phone. One that does some fancy tracking or something. What do you have on that thing, anyway?" I scratched my nose. "I have this little puzzle game," I admitted. "You build a village and go to your mine." "Shit," Dominic looked shocked. "There are apps for that? People are really fucking disconnected from reality nowadays." "You should try it," I said. "It's fun." Just on time. We were running out of gas when suddenly the trees on either side of us disappeared and we drove into the village. Dominic went to refill the tank while I organized something for us to drink. Then we took off. The asshole. And just like that, we ran out of gas and sputtered to a stop in the middle of the road. I was laughing, and Dominic was cursing. Fortunately, we could see a village a little way down the road, so he left me with the bike and went to get some gas. I made myself comfortable, sat against the bike with my legs in front of me, and knotted my t-shirt under my breasts. The humidity was almost suffocating. I looked at my boots, at the green cargo pants I was wearing, and at my stomach, which definitely didn't look young anymore. It looked old? I grimaced. Old wasn't the right word. Middle age? Perhaps it was the autumn of middle age rather than the height of summer, but still. I liked my stomach, and then I heard the rumbling of the engines heading towards me. 2 policemen pulled up next to me, the heat radiating from their bikes only adding to the thickness of the air. I had a bad feeling. It didn't take me long to guess that they were trouble. One of the policemen was ogling my bare midriff. I'd seen the smile on his lips enough times in my life to know what he was thinking. I smiled. "How can I help you, officer?" I said, and smiled a most charming smile. "Are you alone here?" asked the policeman. "No," I said. "I'm traveling with my husband. He's quite a strong man." He looked at my fingers. The ring was still there. "And he left you alone here. Why not come to Boomba with me instead?" "No, thank you." I played it safe. "There's a nice hotel there," he grinned. "I can show you things no white man has shown you before." "Hey, the lady said she wasn't interested," I heard Dominic's voice. The policeman looked at him slowly. "You were lying," he said next to me. Oh, fuck, I thought. "He is not strong. He is old," he said. I winced. Dominic narrowed his eyes. "You ain't no athlete yourself either," he said evenly, looking the policeman in his eyes. What had gotten into him? What the fuck was he doing getting into a pissing match in the middle of the African jungle? The policeman started to laugh, and then his friend joined in. They drove off towards the village, splashing mud on us as they left. I took a shaky breath. Come on, we should get going. Ants. Of course, my precautions didn't save me from getting into trouble again. We'd stopped somewhere in the middle of the road, and I went into the bushes to pee. Bushes were my toilet now. Adi, don't! Yelled Dominic. But it was too late. Fuck! I screamed as a horde of massive ants, angry at me for stepping on top of their colony, charged towards me. I screamed and swore, jumping around trying to get rid of them. Dominic ran over to help me, but gave up after a few minutes and just doubled over, howling with laughter. Little fuckers. If I hissed, hopping on my left leg and shaking my right shin violently in the air. If I ever see an ant again, I swear I'll bite its head off. I'll catch every last one of the little bastards and bite the living fuck out of them. Ow! Fuck you, you little demons! Fallout. We stopped in Boomba to have a beer. It was nice. We sat at a plastic table and started to chat with the locals about the weather, the roads, and the state they were in. They were adamant that there was a hole big enough to swallow a whole truck somewhere, and their families and relatives. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. When we turned around, there were policemen behind us. They didn't look friendly. "Why have you not registered yourselves?" barked the tallest one. I kept quiet. "We're not staying here," Dom said. "We're going to Kisangani and Goma. We just stopped for a beer." "Papers." We took out the papers. A crowd started to gather around us, curious and hungry for a show. I could sense an unusual, underlying tension. The policeman looked at our papers and shook his head. "These are fake," he said. "You must come with me." "That can't be." I reached for my wallet. "If we have to pay..." "Are you trying to bribe me?" The policeman crossed his arms. "Money is not the law here. I am." Fuck, I thought. We really were up shit creek without a paddle. "Sure you are," snorted Dom, and I could see straight away he shouldn't have said that. Oops. Prison. The policeman's face went dark. The crowd started to murmur. And we ended up in jail. They took our phones and backpacks and locked us up in a cell. There were bottles full of urine on the floor. Apparently, they didn't bother cleaning up after the last tenant. I was so scared that I snapped at Dominic. "Look at what you got us into," I snarled. "Me?" Dominic spat back. "You think I'm responsible for this?" "Of course you are. I didn't see anyone else arguing with them," I shouted. "Oh, for fuck's sake, I was trying to save you." "Well done, and thank you very much. Now I'm all nice and safe in a prison cell in the middle of fucking Africa." "Oh, don't be so dramatic. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last." I started shouting. Half an hour later my throat gave up, so I just gesticulated wildly at Dominic, mostly with my middle fingers, and then turned my back to him. A couple hours later, they took me out for questioning. "Officer," I said, "I'm very sorry about my friend." "He drank too much," I continued. "You know how old men are, especially when they drink. They don't like being old, so they pick fights with younger, stronger men to prove that they still have it in them. If Dominic had heard that, I'd have been in so much trouble." "But we're not here to cause trouble," I kept going. "We're just a couple of old people passing through. I'm traveling to visit my pregnant daughter." And talking. I didn't even pause to take a breath. I just chatted, and chatted like a parrot. Finally, the policeman started to laugh. "He was right about you," he said. "You really are a feisty old lady. We wanted to see for ourselves." I breathed deeply. "Your friend is an asshole," added the policeman. "You should leave him and stay here with us. We are good people." They held us until the next day before giving us back our belongings and letting us go. "You're in so much trouble," I said to Dominic. "How about you run the rest of the way to Kisangani, carrying all our gear?" "You know what?" he said after a moment. "Maybe I really was trying to prove I still had it in me."